Oh my god. 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 Here we are. Oh, wait, did I say God? I'm sorry. Um, if I offended anybody by going, "Oh my god." Uh, but oh my god, and whatever. So there's this thing. There's this thing that's kind of been bugging me. Oh, wait, now wait a second. Now there's this other thing that's gonna fuck me up badly. Mute. I'm gotta mute myself in the YouTubes because I do want to see all the lovely chats and stuff, and I do want to engage, but I don't want to listen to myself talk because I can already hear myself talk and it's boring. Um, yeah. Pop out chat. Yep, there we go. Pop out chat. And then minimize this fucking window because it's just annoying. It's yeah, there we go. Sorry about this, people. I'm not a professional in this game. I have no idea what getting better, but basically don't have any fucking idea. Anyway, so there's this thing that's been kind of bugging me. It's a constant source of annoyance. Not in terms of people trying to be supportive of trans people, not in terms of trans rights, not in terms of uh, a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, some people basically, it's like, fuck that transies, fuck that transies, all that kind of crap. But when it comes down to the key issues that so many people raise, it's like, what about kids? Think of the children. Um, that's a good one, but that's not what I want to talk about tonight. Because when I think of the children, I think of myself as a child, and I don't want to talk about that. I've talked about that plenty. And the other thing that is the thing that pops up most frequently in discussions of trans issues is fairness in sport. Talk about the trans people in sport. What about the transes that it's going to kill sport as a whole? No, not going to kill sport as a whole. It's going to kill women's sport. Why it's going to kill women's sport? Well, men, men. You all familiar with men? By the way, what is a man? What is a man? Matt, what's a man? Dickie? I don't know. I mean, is it XY? Is that it, Dick? There I thought of this. It can't be a man because he doesn't smoke the same cigarettes at me. Pardon me while I spark one up. Um, to me, a lot of this is abstraction, and it's nutty. But when it comes down to, wait a minute, Stephanie, grab focus. Um, when when discussion turns to fairness in sport, um, particularly towards trans people's participation in sport. The conversation is never about trans men, it's always about trans women. And it is that's interesting, don't you think? It's interesting um, because it really kind of implies a priori determination that uh, uh, trans women have an advantage in sport because they were assigned male at birth or went through a male puberty or that there's any number of those are the two major um, assertions that people will make about trans women in sport. There's some crossover towards the trans youth thing because that assumption carries beyond uh, the the any purported advantages conveyed upon males who or people. I shouldn't just say males. I should basically say people who people who have a have more testosterone as the primary sex hormone flowing around in their bloodstream, triggering off um, uh, already present genetic predispositions to the response to the stimulus provided by testosterone. So, which are, I don't know, facial hair, bone structure, this, that, and the other thing. There's all of those arguments that get that get discussed. But when it comes down to sport, it's like, well, um, some people have natural advantages through any number of factors, what stature or genetic stature, capability in that respect. I mean, I ain't playing the WNBA. I'm fucking 5'7". It ain't gonna happen, right? I ain't gonna sail. I ain't gonna sail a laser radial. I weigh 182 pounds. It ain't gonna happen. I'm not gonna be competitive. There are a lot of women who can't sail a laser radial because they weigh 190 pounds and are good sailors, better than I am, but can't be competitive. Now that's a that's an example of competitiveness in sport, natural advantages in sport, and the combination of advantages and equipment and all of this other stuff that kind of makes things odd when you're talking about natural advantage. Now, I would have to ask in my sport, for example, is a 152-pound guy going to be better than a 152-pound gal in laser radio? In my sport, scoreboard says no. In my sport, scoreboard says literally scoreboard. Like, I want data. I want studies. I want this. I want that. Okay, I'll give you in 3 years of intercollegiate studying intercollegiate sailing results. There is no advantage to having a guy on the boat. Women tend to perform approximately the same, if not slightly better than guys. Matter of fact, this year at the U.S. Nationals, a team from Stanford uh, won the U.S. Nationals in fleet racing. All four competitors on two boats from Stanford, two boats from every college. All four of the people on the Stanford team competing for the national championship were women, and they won the event by, I believe, 20 points. They were that good. Now, suppose, just suppose, one of those women were trans, and none of those women were. Apparently, all of those women had a natural advantage over the men they were competing against. Because why? Because they won? No. No, they fucking won because they were better. They trained better. They did better. They were better. Folks, I just want to ask you, have you ever, any of you who have ever entered into a sporting competition for fun, for pleasure, for anything, did you ever enter that competition in order to lose? I'm waiting. Does anyone ever do that in order to lose? And does anyone ever, play a game to lose? They don't. These are games. These are games. These are uh, uh, these are these are pastimes that people engage in to give a little bit of meaning to their lives, to give a little bit of fun, to build camaraderie, to why do you play? Why do we play? Yeah, there's an interesting study of 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 I believe it was mice. It's like, you know, mice play, mammals play, animals play. We all play. We do it to just maybe get a little bit of an endorphin rush or something. I don't know. I know that when I win a sailboat race, I feel really good, and I won one tonight. I feel really fucking cool right now. I'm just like, wow, we did so good, and we it, the first race was not our best. We came in third. In the second race, we won by uh, being smart and sailing well, and it's just enjoyable to do something well. And that's why, again, sorry, eh, that's why the Olympic Charter, as is currently written, um, says this as the fundamental principles of Olympics. and its fundamental principle 4, and it reads, "The practice of sport is a human right." Now, um, theists would probably argue that that right comes from God, but I don't think it says that the practice of sport is a human right anywhere in the Bible. But so it's not biblical. But bear with me here. Maybe if we can, maybe if we can go beyond that a little bit, uh, and just appreciate the idea that we ought to afford people the joy of participating in sport. Maybe we ought to afford all people that joy, um, regardless of their situation, regardless if they're, we have the we have the Paralympics, and it's like, people who are encumbered by a physical handicap. We afford those people that joy, that right to engage in a game and to excel at it by virtue of their training, by virtue of their skill, whether it's naturally occurring or or just brought up through sheer determination, um, to be good at that one game. The practice of sport is a human right. Every individual must have the possibility of practicing sport without discrimination of any kind. And in the Olympic spirit, which requires mutual understanding with a spirit of friendship, solidarity, and fair play. So when it comes to trans people, especially trans women, because the focus is upon us as a trans woman in sport, um, and there aren't many. My friend Carly Chardonnay Webb is one, uh, who's vocal about um, being there. There aren't many of us who really are even included in the conversation. you know, and it's always kind of weird because, oh, first of all, it's not weird in the sense that there aren't many of us anyway, right? Um, in terms of sheer numbers, uh, but that there are very rarely conversations that you will see on the interwebs that actually involve uh, anything other than people speculating about um, this issue. People sort of working on their priors as regards the danger to women's sport from trans women and girls. Kind of giving priority to the notion that um, they're not girls and they're not women. Biologically. Okay. So we have to sort of, and that's where the kind of weird stuff begins. But I want to make it clear that uh, I don't think you could find a single instance. I don't think, and this is, it's like, well, somebody can challenge me on this. I'm- I can't imagine a circumstance under which somebody would change their gender presentation, their bloodstream, their uh, genetic expression, and I hold to that as demonstrably true uh, by virtue of changing the hormonal makeup of their bloodstream, um, which allows for genetic expression of secondary sex characteristics, etc., and some visible and some quite hidden. Um, I can't think of a single instance of anyone who would do that, who would undergo the uh, mental and physical transformation that that involves to win a pickle dish or a monetary prize or a gold medal or a bronze medal or a silver medal or just simply to have the um, uh, opportunity to improve their performance in something as fundamentally, it might be personally meaningful, but nobody does this. Nobody. I mean, would you? Can you imagine someone who would? If you can imagine someone who would, I guess I would have to say you have a very vivid imagination. These are fundamental physical changes that people undergo. There are psychological changes that that are inherent in uh, in in the processing of information. I'm not going down the men are from Mars and women are from Venus kind of tip, but uh, I don't I don't see how anyone would ever consider that for the purposes of gaining athletic achievement in another realm, in another category of sport, that one would undertake anything close to changing one's, I'm going to say it, biological sex. I mean, is it performance enhancing, for example, to have to have the frame of uh, the f- a, a male frame, the frame of someone who's gone through a male puberty, and have the oxygen being delivered to those muscles, whether they stay the same or not. The oxygen being delivered to those to muscles. In other words, hematocrit. In other words, red. In other words, the oxygen carrying capacity of your blood. Would you think that would be an performance enhancing thing? Obviously not. And that biological marker drops. for people who are doing um, gender affirming hormone therapy within 6 months, male to female and female to male goes, you know, balances. That might be a consideration in um, that might be a consideration in training, wouldn't it? And there are lots and lots of other markers, which is why in 2004, rather than focusing on karyotype, because the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, had found in several circumstances that when they were karyotype testing before 1998, they were finding that women often had odd karyotypes or not standard karyotypes. And, oh, by the way, nobody ever tested for men. So the IOC in 2004 dropped that, put in hormone testing. And in the history of the hormone testing as to gendered categories in sport, in the history of that, the only people that ever got thrown out were cisgender women. I was in the wine chat earlier this evening after winning my sailboat racing competition, which I'm really happy about. But and I got back, I turned this thing on. This is why I got on this tip, decided to get in here and just go on this rant. And by the way, I did put a pinned tweet up there. Anybody wants to come in, come on by, come at me. I wish some of these people would would just engage. Anyway, this that person's going, well, we need more study, we need more of this, we need more of that. Well, how much more do you need? 2004 to 2020, one transgender woman makes the national team and goes to the Olympics. Laurel Hubbard goes to Tokyo. Lauren Hubbard goes to Tokyo and bricks it as in weightlifting. I mean, nowhere close to the podium. In 16 years, in four quadrenniums, where trans people were allowed to participate, one qualifies and doesn't get anywhere near the podium. And all of a sudden, that's the big panic. All right. But one trans woman wins the swimming title, whose time was eclipsed a year later by a woman from the same college who set an Ivy League record. And that's a national scandal, an international scandal. So it seems like the only issue that people have with trans women in sport is if somebody wins. And it's kind of like the same kind of issue that people have in sport when a woman beats a guy. Like, for example, when in Barcelona, A woman gold medaled in skeet shooting. And in Atlanta, there wasn't, it was no longer a combined sport. It was men's and women's skeet shooting. Kind of weird. Don't know. Beck, I see you in the room. I'll let you in a sec. So I really have a difficult problem here. I really have a difficult problem understanding what the issue is. Is it I it's it's not about saving women's sport, is it? At least not in that example. That example, it's creating an artificial division. Now I will grant that, uh, probably, one of the best studies, that compares trans men to men and trans women to women, to cis women, trans men to cis men, trans women to cis women, is, one done, by the United States Air Force. And but this is not, of elite athletes or training. It doesn't take any of that stuff into account. It only looks uh, at the physical performance evaluations of these populations over time. There are, in fact, people don't want to, the people on the other side of this thing don't are keen to are keen to emphasize persistent advantages or disadvantages vis-a-vis uh, trans women to cis women from this study. But that's by no means conclusive. It seems to indicate that lower body strength um, is uh, is a factor that sticks around, but upper body strength diminishes, and vice versa. With it's uh, trans men seem to achieve the same levels of performance as cis men, over a period of time, but trans women seem to it's it's hard. But there aren't that many studies that compare um, uh, uh, trans males to cis males, trans females to cis females, and every single one of the studies that even uh, people who make the argument that trans women are men uh, indicate that there are biological markers that do significantly change. And again, I'll go back to the immediate point that sports aren't fair. Sports aren't fair anyway. There's no real there's there's fairness in sport to an extent, but some people are naturally talented. Some people have a gift, and whether it's physical or mental or a combination of the two. Some people have a fucking gift that they are absolutely type formed to kick ass in the in what they do. I mean, it's just a thing. And certainly a lot of sports are type formed anyway, as I was alluding to in sailing in my sport. There's there are women who could sail a fin better than a guy if they're big enough. But a fin is a hard boat to sail. You need to be about you need to be I would say like 190 and made of muscle in order to sail that boat because the thing has an enormous mainsail. You got to hike like a mother. You got to keep the boat down. There are some women that would be capable of that. It might be tough though because it requires a tremendous amount of upper body strength, and that is something that neither trans nor cis women generally have to the degree that men do. But again, it's a question of in some you need a physical talent and you need the mental approach to the sport and you need the training. So what's the problems with women's sport? The problems with women's sport is it's underfunded for the most part. It's not appreciated. It's not something that that people don't want to watch women play a game. And why is that? Because the female form is not the ideal in this patriarchal culture of ours, is it? It just isn't. I mean, true competition is brute against brute, not bell against bell, is it? It's just garbage. All right, I'm gonna let Beck is in the house, and Beck, come on in. We'll say hi. Hey, man, are you asleep?
Huh?
Yeah, fuck off. I put you to sleep. That's like a slap in the face, man.
Nah,
Fuck
you know I
you.
love you. I'm just teasing you.
And
Um, so I want to say that there was a study done on brain scans on trans men and trans women, and they were compared to their cis counterparts, and the activity was the same for the gender that the trans person presented as, not what they were born with. So there's some proof for you. Like it was like a 90 some odd percentile were exact, like
yeah.
98, some ridiculously high amount.
Yeah, there's that stuff, and it's the problem for me with studies, I think those studies are fascinating. I think they're worthwhile.
Yeah.
Problem I have with them is that you get at people like Pine Creek saying, "Well, suppose how many of these how many trans people, so called, would be willing to take that test?" And if the that area of the brain didn't fit the criteria, would just basically give up the fallacious notion of their so-called identity.
I would be more than happy to walk up to any politician and beat their ass so they see that it's not about what gender you were born, it's what you've done with your fucking body. You can sit on your ass or you can go train. And by the way, most people that go for a sport, and the reason that they're good at it, they have an affinity for that sport. Like a gymnast can't necessarily go out and throw the javelin. It's not. That's not what their. That's not what their bodies, made for. That's not what their affinity
No,
is.
of
And
course not.
yeah, aptitude. Thank you, Carrie. Yeah, there's an aptitude there. And they train hard because they have something to prove. That's why they're winning, you assholes. I mean, come on, how many male athletes out there right now are pumped up on like steroids or some shit? A lot of them. They're so afraid
Well,
that
what
people are just
there
afraid
are,
that
and there are tests that um, the World Anti-Doping Association does, and it's really actually quite stringent. You can't, don't you be smoking that wacky tobacco because it's still a banned substance. Don't you be taking epinephrines because it's uh, could be a banned substance. What you need to have as a professional athlete or someone who is competing under the WADA regime is you need to have a TUE, a therapeutic use exemption, which 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 male athletes get if they're getting testosterone supplements. They'll need to have one. I mean, Lance Armstrong wasn't banned from cycling because of his use of testosterone. His
right,
use of testosterone was allowed under a TUE because he had testicular cancer.
which means he wasn't producing
Right?
enough testosterone, which means his
Which
body wasn't
means
working right. So it was hormone replacement therapy.
you might call it gender affirming hormone therapy.
Isn't that crazy?
Isn't that nuts?
Yeah.
And
So
I've said that I've said this tip before. I've said this tip before. When I was 12 years old, I could have easily had gender affirming hormone therapy if if if
mhm.
it were the hormone therapy that was aligned with my gender assigned at
Gender
birth.
at birth.
I
And by the
refused it. I refused it. I was tested for, it's like, oh, Jesus Christ, you don't have enough, blah, 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 blah. We can fix that. It's like, no, please don't.
yeah, they would have
And
loved to give me estrogen.
this is the other thing is like, this is the other thing that I like to, it's like, I like to emphasize with people. It's like, no, that wasn't for me. It wasn't gonna be for me. It was never gonna be for me. It's like okay, I I'll go with the natural stuff. I don't care. I it, um, but I don't want that.
Yeah.
But it was offered as a
Yeah.
be a
Well,
real
the bottom line is anybody can take
like, what the
estrogen or
fuck?
testosterone and it not be illegal as long as you're within the limits for what you're supposed to be. Like the male limit is ranges between 300 and 1,000. So 650 is smack dab in the middle. I'm a little bit below
Yeah.
that because they won't let me take more testosterone than that because of hemoglobin. It's throwing my hemoglobin off too much. But, the point is that it's okay to take testosterone if you're within the limits. That's
Right.
the whole, and nobody trans is outside the limits because doctors fucking monitor it. And if you go outside the fucking limits, they're going to back you off and you're not going to get as much next time. And that's that.
The thing is, Beck. I think that it's not just that doctors monitor it. I think that trans people monitor it. I think that the thing that's really cuckoo to me is that folks like you and I have probably they dealt deeply with these issues for a longer in more considered ways than any cis person ever has.
Oh, fucking yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And when it comes to our medical care, a lot of that is reflected in that. I mean, I am the only trans patient that my GP has ever seen, and I started working with him 25 years ago. It's this is the thing
Yeah.
about all of our issues. There are very few of us. There aren't a lot. There are very few of us in percentage numbers. But that
Right.
doesn't mean that there aren't a million trans people in the United States. There are.
Right.
So if you count it as 2% of the population, or 3% of the population, or 0.3% of the population, that's still a whole shit ton of people.
Yeah, it's still a lot of fuck. Yeah.
It's still a shit ton of people. It's like, and in the Russian Federation, which has banned any sort of gender affirming therapy or care, and it's basically banned trans people from existence.
Yep.
That's 500,000 people in a population of 150 million.
Their penises are scared. They're afraid we're going to have bigger and better ones put on. That's what it is.
Maybe. Maybe.
They're afraid every single trans woman is going to end up with the golden pussy. Make it perfect, Doc. Oh,
anyway, it's staying on the subject of trans. Yeah. What do you think about trans women in sport? What do you think about that? Let's keep on the subject.
Well, I think my opinion on it. It's okay. People need to understand that when you go through hormone therapy, your body changes. Okay, like I have become more toned and I've lost weight for no reason. It's just what it does to my body.
The fact you're running on testosterone rather than estrogen.
Yeah. Well, my testosterone's fighting my estrogen. I'm still producing it. I haven't gotten rid of those yet.
Yeah.
But anyways, so fuck. Damn it. Stephanie, you can't interrupt me. I'm ADD.
I'm sorry, mate.
It's okay. It's all right, honey. What did I say? Who knows what I said?
You said.
Oh, I know what I was going to say. I got it. So anyways, so your body goes through changes. Fat redistributes if you're to certain places and disappears when you're on testosterone. When you go into estrogen, it'll go more to your hips and belly area because that's what estrogen does. But at the time that this is happening, there's also a change in muscle mass.
Oh, yeah.
A trans woman who is on estrogen for a few years sees, and you can ask Stephanie and Jenny this, Diana, whoever you want, sees a huge decrease after, I'm going to say about 3 years in muscle mass, because it started with me a year in of being more toned. So I'm going to assume it starts at about a year, and about 3-ish years, you'll probably notice a big difference. Is that about right?
Yeah, that's a couple of years. A couple of years, and particularly upper body strength,
and that's exactly my point. Trans women do not hold the upper body strength that they had before. Even if they had it before, there's some trans women that were skinny, thin little things and didn't have any muscle mass to begin with. So, of course it depends on the body, but in general, when you take testosterone,
obviously
you get muscle mass easier. And it also depends on when you start. And a lot of people start after 30 something because they're trying to figure out
it depends on where you start, is what I was saying. It's not necessarily when, but where you start. It's like, I'll tell you.
You're saying how much you're taking?
Well, no, where you start yourself where you're where
Oh, I'm
you're
just talking about from the time that hormone replacement therapy starts. I'm not talking about anything else.
well,
Just when you start
that's
taking the
also
hormones.
I'm saying the same thing. It's just,
Oh, okay.
not everybody's levels are the same in the first place.
No,
It's like depends on where you start. It's as I
no.
said, it's like I never had a high level of tea, and for myself, and which is why the I was an NDoc was telling me at the age of 12 I needed to get the to be a
Yeah.
real man, and it's like, no, I don't want that. um
Yeah, no, I get
it's
it because I was the
I just think,
opposite.
what I'm saying is human biology is more complicated than even an evolutionary biologist like Dickie Dawkins has to say. I mean, I don't know why he's going off on this tip. I don't get it. I really don't. Because,
They
you
all are
know,
taught to be
are
afraid
you
of what
fucking
they
trying
don't
to tell
understand and
me,
what's not
Dick?
like them. That's what it is.
I don't understand. Were you trying to tell me that this stuff here isn't biological? It's biological as hell. I don't have any fucking implant. I don't. That's like it's. Even if I did, so what difference does that make? On account of the fact that you know it's totally biological for uh, 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 a cis woman to get a boob job. I mean,
Yeah, that's the other
really?
thing that
But
kills
it's
me.
like I've got what I've got because of my biology. The only thing that I've done that may not be entirely natural is shift the balance, and we
Yeah,
all produce, all of us. If you have testes, you're going to be producing more testosterone than one who does not. If you have ovaries, you'll be producing more estrogen than one who does not. But that doesn't mean that there is a solid dividing line between the amount of either hormone in your bloodstream without any intervention. There are men who are Olympic athletes that have T levels in the female range because
yes.
it is a continuum, because it is because it's not it's not like a cataract of some nature where you cross this line and you can tell
Yeah,
this is male,
exactly.
this is female, which is why, as I said, the only people who've ever been kicked out of the Olympics for elevated testosterone levels have been cis women,
So weird.
including Caster's fucking Semenya, who is a cis woman. I'm sorry if any of you people who are listening to this stream want to come in and tell me that Castor Semenya is a man. I invite you to debate the European Court of Human Rights. I invite you to debate the International Olympic Committee. She had a certificate of femininity issued to her,
Oh my god. That's where we
which
are,
is
huh?
that's where we've been. That's what I'm saying. All you people, all these people out there that think that this has never been addressed by national governing bodies, by international governing bodies in sport,
Bullshit.
by the IOC, have not even paid attention to what has been going on for the last 20 years.
It's just all of it's ridiculous. And it's people like
It
Trump
is.
that make things worse because he just makes everybody think, oh, it's okay to be hateful. And people are like running around with KKK shit again. Like, what? They're not even trying to hide it. I mean, okay, granted, it's good to know who your enemies are, but still, fuck, man. The empowerment. And the bottom line is that the people that are trying to make these laws and trying to stifle us care nothing of science. They are going off their fucking Bible that they don't even read. Because atheists know way more about the Bible than any fucking Christian I've ever met.
Well, it's
Except for my brother, and he's crazy.
It's not. While I agree with you, that a lot of this stuff comes from uh, biblical notions of the division, the fundamental division of the sexes. First, the Earthling was created. First, Adam was created. The Earthling was created, and then, as it's and God asked the Earthling,
no,
which after all the other bringing all the creatures to the Earthling, saying, which one of these would you like to bone? And the Earthling said, the sheep are nice, but you could do better. And so God said, yeah, let me think on that a little bit. And the Earthling said to God, yeah, you do that. I'm tired. And he went to sleep. Then God, while the Earthling was asleep, took a little piece of the Earthling out and made up the Earthling's ideal. And out came the ideal. And the Earthling said, now there's something I can jump on. And God said, you go, my man. Get it going.
I got a story about the day that Adam and God were in the Garden of Eden. So they were there, and God's showing Adam around. This is the tree. We'll talk about it later. God, Adam's like naming animals, cow. That's what they're doing. They're just kind of wandering around. It's a beautiful day, and God goes, "Oh, I meant to tell you. I have good news, but I have bad news that goes with it. Which do you want first?" Adam said, "Well, I'm having a great day. Give me the good news, God. Give me the good news." He said, "Well, I gave you two heads, one for intelligent thought and one for all the pleasure your body can handle." Adam said, "Where's the bad news?" He said, "Well, I gave you enough blood to work one at a time."
Anyway, that's the
no, but no, I agree.
It's kind of a sidetrack. Yeah, sure. It's by way of illustrating that really it boils down to patriarchy. It's like the primacy of the male ideal, the male form, the male conception of the world. And I'm not saying that there is necessarily a male and female conception of the world. It's just the way, obviously, our forebears did have that. And there, and obvious, and I'm also saying that, yeah, I do think that women and men have different perspectives on the way things work, and sometimes very, very deep physiological reasons. But I'm also saying that I'm also convinced that the that those divides have been exaggerated by culture and
Mhm.
in culture, and we're kind of uh, encumbered by a lot of those assumptions now.
Do you know
Uh,
what started the whole marriage thing? What really
the whole
started it?
marriage thing.
And people like passing on last names and stuff. That whole thing started because people started to own land. So the people that own land, they didn't want to die and then just somebody take their land. So they were like, what do we do about this? Because this is back in the day when the men were just fucking whoever in the village and everybody's kids were the villages and the village was everybody's kids. You know what I mean? Like it didn't matter. So somebody said, well, we should just start having our own offspring and like having a family at home ourselves instead of doing this. So that's what started the whole thing. All because
Mm.
someone was afraid they were going to die and the land that they worked hard for was going to go bye bye and their family wouldn't have it, which I'm not blaming them for that. I'm just saying that was the start of a downhill spiral of we're going to be fucking greedy. I swear to God, that's where everything started. It used to be, it takes a village. Everybody's kids were everybody's kids. That's just the whole village took care of each other until that. So that's fun.
Well, I guess
Yes, Crystal.
I don't haven't attracted any. I need to put out more honey to attract folks like Pine Creek
I didn't even put out
who
any
want
honey, but by God, I have a cat on my lap.
to basically get on the tip. But again, I feel so torn because I think the issue
Well,
is ridiculous. First of all,
here,
I think the issue of trans people in sport is a non-issue because there aren't that many, and those that are there ought to be celebrated, not excoriated.
yeah,
I think that it's tremendously difficult. As Jay said, it's like, who do you want to exclude? Which kid do you want to tell you can't play this game? Which kid do you want to tell that to?
yeah,
I just like, and the problem I have with at the end of the day with the whole deal is there are folks that are uh, that would would assert and declare and are in rhetoric and in discussion allies who are only allies up to a point
absolutely.
as far as trans folk are concerned.
Yep.
And for some, that point is, except for sports, except for that.
Yeah, because
You're
that's the most important thing in this entire world. Out of everything we have going on, nations burning, places burning up because of wildfires because it's too hot out, we're gonna worry about who the fuck is playing a goddamn sport. That's what we should focus on.
absolutely, there's that,
Fuck the
absolutely
starving children
true.
and people in the street.
And I know, and I know, I know, and I know for sure that uh, I get vocal about this topic, um, even for me, it's not the most important topic in the world. But the only reason I do get excited about it or exercised by it is because of my own. It's just I'm like everybody else. I'm I'm I do what I do, and part of what I do is really dependent on my my being able to be me in the venue that is
Well,
part of my living,
wait a
that
minute.
is sport.
Wherever
You
you
know, it's like
are, it
I'm
doesn't
making
matter.
I do I you know I am a female athlete who happens to be trans, and no one talks to us. No one
No,
speaks for us.
because
No
we have
one
expense and
speaks
they
of
fucking know it, and they know they have
anything to
no
do with us.
goddamn case.
And but at the same time, they will they'll uh, they'll pontificate about the notion of us as if they have any idea
Yeah.
of the facts of the matter. I mean, you know, there
I feel
aren't,
like getting a hold of
if
Anna
you
Kasparian on
want,
TYT and
I
telling
spent
her I'll come
years
on for
basically
free.
being basically being quiet about this stuff, and it's like I'm fine being quiet about this stuff until people started to be like vocal about it, and half the people, more people than not, didn't have any idea it was trans in the first place.
You know,
And
and
it's
that's
just fucking
exactly what happened to
stupid.
me. Same thing I didn't know you were when I met you. I had no fucking idea, and I have the best radar in the world. And you went
Exactly, AL
right
trucker,
fucking
solutions to
underneath of it.
problems not in existence. And
Yeah.
this is why I get this is why I get this is why I'm trying to speak out, and and trying to say, because a lot of times it's like people say it doesn't matter. Well, it matters to me because I'm a human being. And
Yeah.
when people are sitting there saying, uh, when people are sitting there saying, "Well, it doesn't matter because blah 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 blah," whatever reason, it's like, well, it doesn't matter to you, but it sure as hell matters to some people, and and when people with large followings basically are sitting there saying, "Well, trans women a priori are women except for this point," that point is the I'm sitting at the except for point.
Yeah.
And I would like to have a conversation with people about that except for point and why that point is so fucking important. Because it's not at all important
Because they came
in the
over here for
discourse.
religious freedom, so they want everybody to follow their religion. That's why.
I mean, I'll be frank. I'm talking about people uh, like rationality rules, Professor Dave. These are people on you know who are basically, yeah, we're trans allies except for,
Well,
and
our put in more effort than
I
anybody
happen to
else.
be the chick in the except for range, and I don't know how you can be uh um I don't know how you can I don't know how you square that circle. And I would love for somebody to explain it to me.
Be damned if I know, lady. I haven't figured it out yet. Here's my thing. This is what I've said this for years, and I'm going to say it again, and I'm going to continue to say it. If anybody out there, you don't like trans or gay people, don't hang out or marry one. Don't hang out with them. Go live your own life. That's all you have to do. Nothing has changed now. Your life is normal and you still have your white privilege. Keep your fucking nose to yourself. Unless you're going to be an advocate, fuck off. And by the way, I have said this before and I will say it again. For trans people, the best allies we can have are cishet people. For black people, the best allies they can have of people that aren't of color. It goes like that. Whoever looks like the bigots, they're going to listen to. Now, granted, I have been standing there stealth before and had people make comments about trans people. And I've sat there and gone, come on, man, who cares? And they're like, what do you mean? Who cares? I mean, do you hang out with trans people or something? No. And it don't matter, does it? And they're like, yeah, I guess it doesn't matter. You're right. Move on with your life and stay out of my fucking business. But I can do things like that, but it doesn't always work.
Yeah,
I've gotten
and
fuck off before too.
Enter has it right. Enter has it right in chat. This is the consequence of folks like our allies saying, "I draw the line on sports." But Enter says there's only one trans student who wanted to play sports, rather than just saying no, you can't. They made a law to legally prohibit that particular trans person from sports. And I think, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you're referring to the Utah law. There was only one person it affected.
And I'm sorry, Jerry, you're incorrect. It wasn't about stopping one person. It was about stopping that person and any future trans person.
And
that's
anyone else. About. Anyone else. And this is the problem I have with that kind of line drawing, and the kind of the acceptance of the framing that in this one arena that the International Olympic Committee declares as a human right, you are not human as the human you are. That's where I have a problem with Professor Dave. That is where I have a fucking problem with rationality rules. This is where I have a fucking problem with anybody who will draw the line in one aspect of human activity and say no trans may apply. It's like you can go to the pool, you can go to the dressing room, you can go to the blah 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 blah. But when it comes to sports, you are not who you are.
That's right.
And this is where trans people in sport need to express that problem, because I don't believe that people understand that there are trans people, and we're not many. I may be no, I am one of 3 trans people, trans women in sailing at a reasonably high level worldwide. But we are still 3 honest to God people. We exist. And you motherfuckers want to keep us away from doing what we love with people that love us, that enjoy our being there, that enjoy our company. You people want to make a blanket decision worldwide for your own fucking comfort, because it disturbs you in some way. This is what is disturbing to me, that people, because they are uncomfortable with the very notion of people being different, that the people who are different need exclusion. And the entire possibility for people who are different to be fully human in every aspect of humanity, in every fucking field, is foreclosed because it makes some people uncomfortable.
It's not really what it's about, Steph. We both know that. I'm going to say my part, and I'm going to add in what Maya said in the chat. She said, where to go? Hold on. Trans laws aren't about trans people. Congress worked people into a frenzy and had to do something to show their constituents that they're working on the problem. You're the scapegoat, so they don't ask questions about what they're really doing. Yes, and I'm going to tell you the other part of it is all of those fucking politicians have everybody scared that they're going to lose their rights. Because apparently when you give other people equal rights, it lessens your right. There must be a pie, and there's so many slices, Steph. It's fucking stupid.
Yeah, well.
But no, you're absolutely right, Maya. And it's just like my black friend said back in 2004. You're the new N-word on the block. And when they find someone else to hate, they'll forget about you for a little while. And then there was 9/11. And everybody forgot about us for a couple of years. We were just, it was all about fucking Muslims. Everybody hated anybody named Muhammad, apparently. And all I was doing was going, oh, this is nice. And that only lasted a couple of years. And then it started again. And now here we are, and it's all ramped up to fucking bullshit. Because they just have to have someone to fucking hate. They need some goddamn drama, and they need something to get people's attentions and say, I'm going to vote for you. I believe in you. God sent you. Because people are fucking stupid. Do you ever notice if you go into a theist community and hang out, there's a lot of idiot people in chat just saying random scriptures, and they don't even, you're like, ask them what it's about, and they're like, well, just read it. No, but they don't really know what they're talking about. But you go into an atheist area, and it's full of all these intelligent people that you can go ahead, debate them. Get in that chat and debate half those people. I want you to, because you're not going to fucking get past them. They're going to blast you out of the water. Because people in this community fucking think, and they use their goddamn brain. Hallelujah, praise the lack of fucking God. Have a beer and a joint. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm trying to, but that so many of these conversations, I appreciate you very much back, but so many of these conversations don't seem to focus on this issue.
The problem
what is the real issue with?
But there's so many branches off that tree, Steph, that have to be addressed. You can't talk about just that. There's so much stuff that is connected to that. You know, like people hating people because of the Bible. Like, it has to all be discussed, at least in my opinion. If you don't want to, that's fine. We don't have to. But to me, it's all interlinked. It's all interconnected.
No, I agree. It is all interlinked. That's not the thing. It's just
I am just not experienced in that subject.
We wind up again. Again, I appreciate you, but it's those of us who are playing the game and the games, doing the stuff, we are so unheard. We are very unheard. Because we are very few. It's like, how can we be heard if we're not, this is the thing. This is why it's such a non-issue. So we're very, very few and far between. And you people are sitting out there, trying to link us into every other goddamn aspect of trans stuff, and actually making it a centerpiece of the argument, when none of you all even fucking consider asking one of the people that is affected by your bigotry to have a word. That's the thing that pisses me off. And I'm not dumping on you, but Jesus fucking Christ. You want to talk about trans people in sports? Fucking talk about trans people in sports and how the fuck it matters.
But they don't
And
have a
look at the
defense against
goddamn
you,
data.
Steph.
There was this person in the Lions chat who was basically saying, "Well, we need more data and blah blah blah." How much more data do you need, mate?
Here's a for
In
instance.
16 quadrenniums of Olympic competition, there has been one trans woman in the goddamn in the discussion at all. And you are losing your mind saying we need more data. What more do you need than scoreboard? It's not a fucking issue.
It's not like this is new scientifically, just like, and yes, Mark, I actually forgot he did that. Dave Worley did a well-researched stream on trans people in sports, and his conclusion, backed by science, was that trans people do not have an unfair advantage after more than a year of being on HRT. Now, what did I say? By the time you get to 2 or 3 years, your muscle mass has totally changed. I'm not even 2 years yet, and all the arm fat I used to have is just gone. Look, it's just gone, and I'm toned. What did I do? I took testosterone. It put it all down at my belly. Not kidding. But the point is, that's exactly what Stephanie and I were saying. If these people are like 2 months on whatever, I could see that maybe there might be a slight disadvantage, but only in upper body strength, like Steph said. Then after that, after you're on it for a year, just make sure they're all on it for more than a year. It takes 4 years to get to the fucking Olympics. They train for 4 years. Leave them the fuck alone.
Which was the standard that the IOC had, and that World Athletics. And World Athletics is the world governing body for track and field, and that was the standard that they had. They had two standards for eligibility in in the women's division, in women's competition, and that was 1 year. Actually, I think it was 2 years. 2 years of of hormone suppression and enhancement,
right?
Basically, yeah, gender affirming hormone therapy, and then a limit of testosterone levels. And even within that, there's a good deal of controversy as to how much difference that makes on account of the fact that of the overlap that I spoke of earlier and all of this other stuff.
Hey, Steph, do you know the testosterone range for women? Off the top of your head, do you know what that range is? I cannot think of it for the life of me.
I can tell you what the limit. I can tell you what the limits were in athletic competition for under the old IRC guidelines. It was 10 nanomoles per liter, and in which doesn't translate to grams per deciliter, which is what the American
you have to convert it. Yeah,
you have to convert from that to nanomoles. And as a professional athlete registered with U.S. Sailing and World Sailing, I had to provide that documentation, and I've had to do it for the past 25 fucking years.
I believe it.
So it's like, it's.
Do all athletes have to do blood tests before they're letting the Olympics when they like officially get in? Yes. Don't they all have to do blood tests anyways? Okay. So it's not.
Only the qualification for the female. There is no limit, high or low, for males there is for females, or was for females, and
For
now
testosterone?
it's up. Yes.
That's not right.
Well, there's anti-doping stuff like our exogenous testosterone, unless you have a uh, TUE, you are going to be suspect if you have exogenous uh,
Yeah, because the male
testosterone.
limit is 1,000 mg per NNML or NM. Which one is it? NMML or NNML? Anyways, yeah. NMOL per. Okay, yeah. There you go.
If that's Mark Caesar, if that's
Yes.
yeah, nanograms per deciliter,
Deciliter.
or 2.44 nanomoles per liter. That sounds about right for female range. There are male athletes who fall into the fall into uh, the high of the female range, and there are female athletes who fall into or exceed the um, the lower end of the male range.
Yeah, because the male testosterone
That's the
starts at
issue.
300.
Those are the people that have been booted from the Olympic competition. It hasn't been trans people because, again, only one trans person is there fucking qualified for a national team, and so it's a non-issue. I mean, it gets so ridiculous when you're talking about athletics. I mean, the gender critics have been going after Katie Ledecky. It was like Katie Ledecky is a trans guy. It's like is a trans woman. It's Katie Ledecky is just incredibly talented. Does anybody ever go after who's the most famous male swimmer? It's like guy's name always escapes me.
God, the gay dude, Mark. What's his name? Mark? No, Matt. I swear to God, it was an MA name that was 4 letters. But you're talking about the gay. Are you talking about the diver or the swimmer?
I'm not talking. Yeah, I'm not. I'm talking about the swimmer. It's like Michael Phelps. Thank you, Doctor Tapioca Weasel, very much. The man has.
I was thinking the diver.
Webbed feet.
Yeah. But no, he's worthless. He's a pothead.
He's a physical specimen and a physical freak in certain respects. But he's got web feet, a huge lung capacity, and all of this stuff. And that's another thing. It's fucking
yeah, they should really not let people that have too high of a lung capacity swim. I think we should do that. I mean, if we're going to knock out trans people, let's go ahead and pick on people that are extraordinary. Everybody that's extraordinary.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, yeah, that's the thing. Everybody who is in the Olympics is extraordinary.
That's what I'm saying. Who are you going to have left?
That's the thing. That's the thing about elite athletics. Everybody who is at that level is extraordinary.
Yeah, and it's not because
for whatever reason,
hormones,
whether it's physicality or it's this or that or the other thing,
aptitude, whatever it is, they train their fucking asses off.
You train your ass off. You spend hours.
6 years old. Like they earned that shit. Leave them the fuck alone. That's a lot of fucking training.
I'm sure Beck was thinking of Greg.
Yes, Louganis, Greg Louganis. I don't know why I thought his name was Matt or something. Mark Spitz. That's a good one. That I think that might have been the Mark I was thinking of. Thank you.
Well, yeah, Spitz was five gold medalist, but
Yeah.
But Michael Phelps is just an extraordinary physical
Oh, he
specimen.
just broke
It's like,
record after record, and they were
yeah,
like, "You're a
boom, 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 boom,
pothead,"
boom.
and
And
I'm like, "So he was taking a drug that would make his performance
Katie
worse?"
Ledecky is Katie Ledecky is the distaff Michael Phelps. It's just
Yeah.
extraordinary. And
Oh
and
yeah.
and all these gender critics are out there saying, well, she's a trans woman. And it's like, no, she's not. And this is the thing. This is the thing that goes on in sport uh, for extraordinary female athletes of any stripe. She's not a real girl.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't a real girl either, but that's different.
No, I'm just saying the attitude
I know what you're
that
saying.
that the attitude is uh, as a woman, if you excel athletically, you're not a real girl for
Yeah.
some people.
Exactly.
That's the
Exactly. You
thing.
nailed it. Yep.
It's just garbage.
Yeah, because
I
when I
mean,
was in high school, I
I have
was really
sailed
good at
with
basketball.
I've sailed with and against extraordinary women, and uh, both pre and post transition, and it always just made me want to punch somebody when uh, uh, one of my mentors or teammates or uh, people that I admire,
Mm.
when guys would say after they got their rudders kicked by these people, she's not a real girl
Oh yeah, no, she
because
can't
of
be
their
because it made my
fragile
penis too small.
fucking
Yep.
egos.
Yep. It's all because and I
Because
keep
they got
saying this. I
beat
keep
by
saying this,
somebody who
Steph.
was better, who was trained better, who peaked at the right time for whatever reason. They would never say that about another guy. They would
I'm gonna
never
say it.
do that.
I'm gonna say it again, and I've said it over and over again. It all goes back to toxic masculinity. It does. All of it. All of it. The toxic masculine guys that can't handle the fact that someone can change a sex and do good at anything at all. It doesn't matter what it is. Like it's all of it. They have power, they have money, they have to keep it. Their penis is little. Got to keep the power and the money. It all I swear to God, the basis of 90% of fucking hate is toxic masculinity. Not I'm sorry, let me clarify that. White male toxic masculinity.
Oh, I think it's I think it's somewhat universal,
I
but
think it's the basis of all of it. If you look back, it can all be traced right back to that. It's all about who's in power and money and whose dick is bigger. Who's got the bigger truck or the more jacked up one, or who's got the real metal balls hanging off of their hitch, not just the plastic ones. Huh? Am I right, guys?
yeah.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Anyway, I've been
Actually,
blessed
Mark,
not
I
to.
was a guard and I was a damn good guard at 5'6". I was a really good height for it. And then I went to another school where they really knew how to play basketball, and I realized I wasn't that good. But at the school where they didn't know how to play, I kicked ass.
Well,
And
we've been
that's the
blasting
truth.
at this particular tip for an hour and a half, and I'm getting tired. So maybe there are other things on the inner tubes, or better things to read, or better things to do than listen to me
I don't think
and
so. I think it's a
go
great
on and
topic
on
that we
and
need to
on and
talk
on.
about more.
But I get I kind of got a little bit disturbed um,
I don't blame you.
by the nature of the of the conversation that keeps going on and on. That there happens that I don't see how there is a point at which you can draw a line and saying in saying that uh, you're fully human except for here. You're fully you're fully uh, you're fully embraced except for here. You're fully this except for here. I mean, I understand better the position of Richard Dawkins is you'll never be a woman because you're not biologically a woman. Even though, I mean, I could go down that argument with even Richard Dawkins. It's like, what do you mean biological? I mean, where are you drawing the line as to what biology means? And he'll say gametes or this and that and the other thing. And all of those arguments, there's a wonderful article by Hemant Mehta, the Hemant Mehta,
Meta. Yes. Great guy. I know him.
MEHTA, a wonderful article taking down Dawkins uh, interviewed uh, interviewed Helen Joyce, a notorious transphobe, and he's sitting there basically going,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is Mr. Atheist over here. Hello,
Mm-hmm.
and 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 Mr. Biology over here, and the the momentum that uh, Dawkins is generating here is not in the right direction for trans people, not in the right direction for people who think. It's
That's
just
because
bad.
everybody different than him is wrong, and he just sits down in his basement judging others. Because
Well, it's an old
God,
white guy.
because
It's
as Tomer
it is.
as Tomer says it on Orange Stream, I have to say it. God, I got it down pat.
But it's yeah but this is really it's a difficult thing, and particularly for me,
Mm-hmm.
and again it is a personal thing because of who I
Of
am and what
course,
I do and all of that other stuff. But
of course.
boiling it down to biological essentialism of sex assigned at birth and all of this other stuff is just, come on, there's so many other factors. And even if you get into the sports realm and stuff, uh you need to think about which sport, like which competition. If you really want to drill down, you need to drill down methodically and sensibly and not
Yeah,
make
you talking
these
about like
wild
rowing or shooting a
generalizations.
rifle?
And to not
Not the
make these
same thing.
wild generalizations
Yes.
about sex aptitude or secondary sex characteristics aptitude or biological implications of of an organism that is running on estrogen as opposed to testosterone. Come on, you need to get a little bit more you need to get a little bit more nuanced when it comes down to this kind of thing, rather than taking an a priori assumption that men are better than women in every aspect of athletic endeavor across the board. It's bullshit. It's
Yes.
crazy. And you
Oh, I
really
agree.
fucking, I don't know how any, you can make that assumption. Pine Creek is putting up things about middle school boys running middle school girls and stuff like this. And it's like, dude, that's, there's so much behind that. There's so much to unpack there. How are the, jeez, I'm crow, dude.
I know. I know.
It's so frustrating to me, and that's why I wanted to get on here. But anyway, I've been at this tip and going back in the same direction for almost an hour and 40 minutes at this point. So I'm gonna call it good because nobody else is coming in. But I appreciate back. I so much appreciate your
I was just trying
coming
to
in
get
to
your
talk
back.
about this bullshit. Cause you the man, I
You
the
the
lady.
lady, and I
There
appreciate
you
you.
go. And I want to say thank you to everybody in the chat for coming here. Everyone who is subscribing and liking and all that stuff to the channel and helping me out. Um, it's a it's a rough go these days, and I appreciate each and every one of you guys. Uh,
We appreciate
Everybody,
you too.
Tapioca Weasel, Pragmatic Crystal, all
Carrie
you folks.
Chrysler,
You've been
Juror, Mark Caesar, Jester,
everybody.
all of you amazing people. Yes, please hit the like button. Show Stephanie some love. Share out her streams. And if you want to be an
Now,
advocate for people like us, stand up when people that are bigots say shit. That's all we need. Just stand up and say something. Make them know it's not okay. And we love you guys. Peace.
our peace and power. Good night.
Lots of peace.